Yeah, I think it all looks good.
That's classic.
Awesome. All right, I'd say, yeah, we can move to approve these.
I motion to approve. Is there a
Sure.
second?
I second.
Okay.
Sorry, who seconded?
Jesse.
Thank you.
Awesome. And then the treasurer's report, has there been much change, Jim?
It hasn't been any change at all. It's what it was in the minutes.
Awesome. Cool. All right, so let's just jump first, since we don't have that much time. Let's just jump to the votes, and then we can go from there. All right, I had some ideas, some thoughts today, some last minute changes, kind of fast and loose. But what do you guys think about just voting to, so I heard back from one of our grantees today, Mary Kringen, I think is her name.
Mary Kringen?
Right. So they got their funds, and they didn't have any of their summer concert series, but they went and they paid their musicians anyways, which is fine. We would have probably approved that. But I'm gonna go ahead and assume that there's several more grantees who've probably done something similar. So what do you guys think about just voting to approve all modifications? That way, going into grant season, we're not trying to hunt down the rest of the grantees.
Just like that?
Yeah, and even if
Would we have a record of them? Would somebody be keeping a record of them?
well, they have to submit a record at the end of the year of how they use their funds. So we'll end up finding out what they use their money for.
But that could be into next year sometime.
Yeah, I just think that's a little loose.
I mean, the Mass Cultural Council has basically given us permission to do this under the idea that these funds could be used as relief funds, and the money is going to go back into our local economy anyways. It's not.
But for our own record, shouldn't we have paper? You know, if that's what we're going to do, then I think we should send out a letter to everybody we haven't heard from yet, plus that form that I put together. And, and the letter should ask, are you thinking about looking for a grant extension? And ask some of those questions we're asking, ask to fill out the form. At least we'd have some paper on that or some kind of records on that. I feel very, we're getting money and we need to record what we do with it.
Right, and everybody has to fill out, at the end of the year, has to fill out a form of what they did with all of their funds. So one way or the other, we'll end up seeing what these people did with their money.
But we won't know we won't get a chance to go to the shows, when the show is going to be, that sort of thing.
And Leo, a lot of the grantees, a lot of them, I have to track them down. They're not very good about sending in their end of the year reports based upon what they've done. I agree with Eileen. I think we need to have a paper trail that we're, that we've acted on something and we can track what they're doing with their money, even though it's going to be into the next year.
Now, I can write a letter that goes to these thoughts to go out with that draft that I put together. Can we mail it? I'm just wondering how we'd get the letter out. Would we mail it?
We could mail it, we could email it, we could call everybody one by one.
I think maybe an email would be good, maybe. And then if we haven't heard from everybody, we can go to calling. What do you think, Jim? A mail?
I think an email, at least giving them a heads up that we need to know what they're doing with what their plans are with the money that they've been awarded. And then if we don't hear back from them within a 2-week period, and I don't mind doing this, I give them a phone call to track that down.
Okay, so maybe And I can word the email if you like, and we could attach the draft response thing to it.
There are 10 grantees at this point that have not submitted requests for funds or have not let us know about what they want to do regarding an extension. So it's not a large number.
Oh, okay. I thought it was a larger number than that.
No. Actually, I think it's about down to 8.
Yeah, we have, well, we actually have, Noel and,
Was it Francis Hart?
yeah, they both wanted to encumber
Get
their
an
funds.
extension.
Yep, an extension and encumbrance.
Encumber their funds.
Yep.
Well, whatever you want to do. If there's any way I can help, let me know.
All right. Any
I
other?
think we need, Leo, I think we need to send a letter to them or an email as a heads up. And then you and I then can connect following that after a 2-week time period. And then I'll follow up with a phone call. And then, and I think we need to use that form in some way to track what they're going to do.
All right.
Can I make one suggestion?
Yes.
It would involve postage, but you really want to get to the bottom of it, certified mail.
Yeah, we could do that too. Send out
I
letters.
mean, I'm not saying that, put it at the top, put it as the last resort.
Yeah,
I think
last
that's a
resort.
good idea because that sends a note of seriousness to it.
I mean, the one thing we have to consider is that as these requests come in, and if they don't fall in line with our regular third Tuesday meetings, it might require us to meet more. And we've already had problems filling out quorum in August and September. So it's just going to be another thing that we have to keep in mind, that we might have to meet more. And then as grant season comes along, that's going to require even more meetings per month. So we might
What constitutes a meeting? Say I received all of the answers, and organized it, and then talked with you or Jim or both of you and said, see if it just the 3 of us, is that okay? A subcommittee meeting or something like that, or do you still have to make it a public meeting?
It needs to be a public meeting.
Yeah,
Just
just
the
for
3 of
voting
us
on it.
talk about it.
No, we can't. We can't just talk about it. If we make a decision, it has to be a public meeting.
With a quorum.
Yeah.
This is part of city
Hoping we
government, so it has to be public.
I mean, I think the sending out an email or a letter, including the form or an online version of the form, is probably it sounds pretty effective way for me. And doing a overall vote saying any remaining will approve their extension kind of puts us in a little bit of a liability in case what they want to do with it is something ridiculous, or I don't know, but filling out a form isn't very difficult.
All right, we can do that. I just don't.
Let me see if I've got this right. The consensus is to send out correspondence, probably via email, to all of the grantees who have not yet expended their funds, and that's about 10. And then to ask them to fill out a form that would explain what they are planning to do with it. Is that correct?
Yep.
Okay. Yes.
Also tell me what agenda item this goes under, because I don't see an agenda item that this corresponds to.
There isn't. It's mostly I'm basing it off of the vote to encumber funds for the Thurston concert by Noel Pluff. I wanted to see if we could change that last minute and
Vote to encumber all, or
yeah.
Thank you.
You don't have to notify agenda items. That's just that was a way that was easy for me to do it. Scene.
No, I like to keep discussions associated with agenda items.
Sounds good.
And Leo?
Yep.
I will send you a list of those remaining grantees. Again, I think it's somewhere in the vicinity of 8 to 10 grantees have not requested their funds yet.
Cool.
So
All
it's
right.
manageable.
So, all right, so let's go on to these and fund encumbrances then.
I mean,
So
we
no-
only have one. Sorry.
What's that?
We only have one on the agenda.
Yeah, so, right, so Noel wanted to encumber his funds for the next fiscal year, as well as Francis Hart. Francis isn't on the agenda though.
Yeah, you said that she might be, but they never gave me a confirmation that
Oh man,
she needed to be added on there.
all right.
So we can
Now,
only
Noel,
vote for Noel,
I have his in writing.
I guess.
Okay.
We
We have
theoretically
nothing from
could.
Francis Hart.
All right, so right, so yeah, let's move to vote for these encumbrances. Yeah. Sorry, I'm like clicking back and forth over here. Everybody in favor of encumbering Noel and Francis's funds till the next fiscal year? All those in favor?
Aye.
Oh,
Cool. It seems like the majority is in favor. Anybody against?
I just have a question. In terms of what we talked about having documentation that they're requesting that the money be encumbered, we have it in writing on the Thurston concert from Noel, but we have nothing in writing from Francis Hart.
I have an email. I can send that email.
Oh, you do?
out.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Could you send me that email then, Leo, so I can keep a record of that?
Yeah, I'll forward it to you right now.
Okay.
So typically on votes, we need a motion maker and a second. Could I get those for this vote?
I make a motion that we accept the encumbrance of the funds for the Thurston Consort and for Francis Hart's grant of a cultural and historical reflection of the 1960s.
Second.
Who is the second, please?
Francis Hart.
Yeah, no, who seconded? Tamar?
Tamar did.
Okay.
Awesome. And then the second vote is on attendance in relationship to membership status. So I guess that one is if we want to go and approach the mayor and see if the 3 long-time chronic absentees, if we can have them removed from the council. That way quorum would be a lot easier.
Or if we can like put like a, if you miss like more than 3 months of meetings, then you are not on the council anymore or something like that.
Well, I thought there was some sort of requirement that you're required to, if you miss so many meetings in a row, that you were off the council. I do think that there should be a letter that goes out or something that goes out to the people we have never seen, asking them, telling them this and I think people are put on the council without really understanding what their role is.
Right, yeah.
Second that call from Eileen for correspondence. So if we could, let's send out a letter notifying folks that they might be removed from the council if their absences continue. And then in the next instance, when the absence occurs, we can then send the request forward to the mayor. But it does seem a little precipitous not to give them notice, even though
Definitely.
technically the letter that people get tells them that they can only miss so many meetings.
I mean, I don't think that's a bad idea. So
Do we have any bylaws around? This must be written somewhere, I'm thinking.
We do have bylaws. My understanding, I could be wrong, but that we don't really have the power ourselves to move, to assign people or remove people.
Only the mayor does.
What's that?
Correct.
Only the mayor does.
Right.
Oh,
So,
so the no-shows, but there are, I'm sure there's some distinction. Does anyone still talk to Joe Bowen? He really knew how all of this worked.
Yeah.
Does anyone still talk to Joe?
Yeah,
yeah.
we,
Could someone talk to Joe and ask him, tell him, explain this problem to him and get some advice?
but Joe technically isn't, I mean, he would help us, but this is where we should go to the council for help, the Massachusetts State Council, because the mayor decided Joe wasn't to be our chair anymore, and this is a voluntary position, so really it wouldn't be Joe's responsibility. I'm sure
It's
he
not
would
his
help.
responsibility, but I know that he said that he would help when
Well,
I
even-
talked to him and threatened to leave. So I don't think, does that really run afoul of thing? We can't talk to Joe?
We can
No,
talk
we
to
can talk
Joe, but
about
he can't make any decisions. But yeah, we
Oh,
can ask
no.
him for advice.
I'm not saying
even
that. I'm
ask
just saying
Joe.
advice.
Yeah.
I
Right.
think what we need is just bylaws, as Eileen indicated. I think we have bylaws. I know I saw them at one point. So if we had those, we would know what the rules of engagement here are in terms of the number of absences. And then you're right, we would send official correspondence to the mayor, notifying the mayor of the absences and possibly requesting that the individual be removed or replaced.
Right. I mean, our bylaws don't really say anything about absences. They have, there's term limits spelled out. But again,
Be good to see the bylaws. I'd like to see them because I thought I read something about after so many absences,
Yep.
you're off.
all right, so I'll email the bylaws.
Okay, email the bylaws to us. Anybody else have bylaws? It'd be good
No.
to have.
What
I have a
Eileen
question.
recalls, what Eileen recalls could also be in your letters of appointment. I'll search out mine as well to see if it was in my letter of appointment.
I have trouble hearing you, Sean.
I know. I need to replace my mic. I am sorry. I'll stop talking.
Okay.
Could hear you then. Sean said that Eileen, you might be talking about I guess the welcome letter of when we first became members of the council.
Maybe so, but even so, that's sounds like a rule that we should, if it's out there, we should rethink it because it sounds like a good rule.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we're going to be stuck with a lot of missing people on the committee. Like the mayor at his best thought can put anybody on the committee and they can never show up and we'll never get there'll be 29 members of the committee and we'll never have a quorum. So we really need to get this straight.
Well, I mean, even if we
Question?
amend the bylaw couldn't supersede the mayor's decision. So in that case, it still falls on the mayor.
But I think that if we had the bylaws to look at, that'd be good. Number
Right.
two, all right, so we decide we need to do something about this program. Why can't somebody go talk to the mayor and explain what the situation is and see how he can help us? Because right now we're hamstrung. We're missing every other meeting because we never have a quorum because we have so many ghosts on the council. What do you think?
Yeah, no, we need to talk to the mayor and just make sure that he knows that a lot of these people aren't showing up.
Right, and so we need to find some way to make it serious because it's not serious.
Can anybody hear me?
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah, we can hear you, Claudia.
Who's in possession of the binder that went from Co to Joe to Leo?
I never got a binder.
Really?
Yeah.
Hmm.
All of the documents that I have from the cultural council are all on the Google Drive.
Well, there was in existence a binder which was kind of like a Bible.
Mm,
Another thing one might talk to Joe about.
yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So do we have any decision on what we want to do with membership status? Did we want to see how many dates? Do we have a number of meetings that we think people can miss before we send out a letter letting them know that they're in danger of being told on to the mayor?
I honestly think this particular thing should be put off to the next meeting. I think we should all get a copy of the bylaws, and I think that one of our number should talk to Joe just on an advise and consent thing. What's the best way to go about this? My feeling is the best way to go about this is for us to talk about this again once we've read the bylaws, and then go to the mayor with the problem, and we have to designate one or two people. I think it's always good to have a meeting with two people, one or two people to go to the mayor and say, hey, here's our problem. But right now, I don't know how many, without having a copy of the bylaws, I'm no longer sure how many meetings we're supposed to have, anything like that. So I'd like to see a copy of the bylaws. Is that possible? Could we table this until the next one when we're all a little bit better, have given this more thought? Some others of you who are you on any other boards, Claudia? I think you are, Jesse. I'm thinking that those of you who are currently serving on other boards may try to find out what the policy is on absenteeism on your particular board. Is there anybody in a position to do that?
It varies from committee to committee. I think it is set by the bylaws, and it depends how frequently people meet, because some boards meet quarterly, in which case you can miss one meeting a year, but some committees meet monthly. So I think it's more of a percentage. So yeah, if you meet 4 times a year, obviously you miss 2 meetings, and then what's the point? But if you're meeting 12 times a year, that's a little different.
Right.
Jesse, are you on any board that meets 12 times a year or 10 times a year?
Maybe. I am on, most of them are either bi-monthly or quarterly. But I feel like one of them is, I think there's one board that meets through the fall through the spring and takes the summer off.
Okay.
I just sent you guys a link to the most recent bylaws approved that I found in the drive, which was for April 17th, 2018.
Yep.
Okay.
I don't know if you know if there's a more recent one, Leo, or not.
No, that's the most recent one that I know of.
Okay. I can share it. So it mostly here talks about staggering appointments and term limits. But it does say on article, this one, these bylaws may be amended at any meeting of the council, provided that the amendment has been submitted to the council of the previous meeting.
Well, once again, I'd like to perhaps motion that we all get these bylaws and think them over before the next meeting and come up with a proposed change. I think it'd be, precipitous to do it now.
All right. Does anybody want to second that motion? Sweet.
Everyone should have access to the Google Drive, just so you know. I'll send you guys a link to it as well. But yeah, so you can kind of peruse through and look at our documents that we have.
Good, thanks.
Okay, so we have a motion to table, is that correct?
Yep.
And that motion was proposed by whom?
Eileen?
Okay. And seconded by
Jesse.
Jesse.
Mhm.
Awesome. All right, and then the next thing, so we can just shoot back up to the top. We were considering getting a different email address, mostly because our email address now is kind of long and clunky. It's Cultural Council Fitchburg Go at Gmail. We can change that at our discretion. And then we were considering, too, just in case we lose anybody, what we can do is have all of our, still hold on to this email address and just have all of the emails forwarded to our new address. That way we don't lose anybody in between the cracks. Does that sound like anything you guys, anybody really opposed to us changing the email address around?
No.
Awesome.
Do we need a vote on which email address to go with? Or can that be a general, I don't know, is that a vote thing? If it is, I have I'm sharing a list of ones that I saw was available on Google that we could use. The 3 in the bottom are crossed out. I don't know if you can tell or not. They are unavailable.
Yeah.
And the stars are the ones that I specifically liked, but don't let that.
I think let's this is a list. This is nice.
Order is best. Easy to remember.
Right. Do you want to
numbered them instead of bullets?
do you want to shoot this
You guys already have this email.
oh.
It was already sent to everyone, Leo.
Does anybody have a particular address? I'm with Tamar. I agree with Tamar. I think that shorter is best.
I think it should be the shortest, which is the top.
Right. What's the difference between the top two?
One
Just
has
a
a
dot, just
Oh.
a period. Which I think technically, it is technically the same email address. Like my, I think technically either will go, but you know, which looks nicer.
All right. Yeah, so I definitely, yeah, I'm game with the top two. I don't think we can put this up for a vote. I don't necessarily know if we need to, but is anybody opposed to us switching the Fitchburg email address? The Fitchburg email address, the Cultural Council email address? Awesome.
And which one are we choosing?
We're gonna go, I think that we're gonna go with the Fitchburg mcc@gmail.com. And we'll still have this current email address that we have. We'll just switch to the Fitchburg MCC from now on. And then anybody who has our old email address can still email our old email address, and we'll get them both. But this way it's a little bit easier for everyone.
Yeah, and I want to get this figured out as grant season is beginning and all of our events are happening. I want them to know our new email address instead of our clunky one. Because
Right.
like right now is when it's really important. After November, it doesn't really matter. Like between November and the following September, it's or the following August.
All right.
So do we want to vote on motion to approve fitchburg.mcc@gmail.com or fitchburgmcc@gmail.com?
Yeah, well, you said that they're both the same, right?
Yeah, they're the same. It's just how we want to write it. But,
Whether you have the dot or not.
yeah,
right?
I think both will go to the same email.
Right. I
Second.
think. Yeah.
So the motion on the table now is fitchburg.mcc@gmail.com.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Well, I second it.
Cool. I'm in favor.
Aye.
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 Do we have any in opposition?
Nope. I don't think so.
Thank you.
I'll set that up.
All right. Now we have about 20 minutes. So let's jump into the cultural district designation.
What about the city council meeting one? Because that's for a city council meeting coming up, right?
Yes.
Oh, right. Okay. So, well, does any, yeah.
And remember that these two are tied together.
Oh, okay.
The city council and cultural district? All right. Yeah, Tamar, so you brought up having a presentation to city council, right?
I did.
Cool. Do we have any thoughts on that? Is there anyone who, I guess, well, seeing you mentioned that those two are tied together, so is that part of what we want to present to them? Cultural district designation? Or what exactly do we want to present to city council?
I have to, okay, Tamar, are you going to talk about that? Because I have no idea.
Tamar?
So the reason that I threw this out on the table is that Mass Cultural suggested it. The point is to let the city council remind them in effect that we exist. So it's basically like brand recognition. That's all it is. It's going before the council, reminding them we exist, reminding them that we're going to be getting money, that it's for the local community, for the art community, that we're in a grant cycle, and that we're open for receiving funds. So the presentation could be a Zoom presentation on like PowerPoint. It will be on Zoom. It could not be. It could just be someone speaking. And I thought the concept was like thank the council, the mayor's office for putting us in office. It's a very like gracious thing that they, you know, have us all in place, and that the council received X dollars last year. We'll be receiving X dollars if we know for this year, and that we're available for the arts community and the cultural community for questions, comments, and then we'll have trainings and so on and so forth. So that was, we'll get about 15 minutes, and they're going to put us on, the next date is Tuesday, October 6th, and we would be at the top of their agenda, and then we'd be done. So I'm happy to go. I thought Jim might be a good person. He's got a relationship with the mayor's office already. I'm not putting you on the spot, Jim. I certainly Leo could go, but I thought it might be nice, Jim, because you know the mayor and I, you know, don't, but I'm also happy to put something together. But it's just basically brand recognition, letting them know we're about to start a grant cycle, and that we would appreciate them reminding their constituents that this is a thing that's happening in the community and that there's funding. So, because the city council will be there in each ward, and we want those members of the city government to let their constituents know that there's funding available for the arts and culture in the town, in the city.
That sounds great to me.
You also mentioned the possibility of maybe getting matching funds or something, or was that something that the MCC brought up?
So it's something that the Mass Cultural Council suggests council's attempt, which is requesting funds. So we get whatever we get, 41 or 40 was it last year?
40,000.
Yeah, we can ask our community to match the funds, but I'm assuming that our community wouldn't, but you don't know that. So basically Veronica said it doesn't hurt to ask. Other communities have asked, and if the community feels they can, they will match the funds. So we could make a plea for funds. I wasn't thinking that we should or need to, but we certainly could. It doesn't ever hurt to ask. I don't think that our city has it in the budget, but
I think asking for any kind of funds this time, the city just passed the budget. They had to cut 2 to 3% across the board. Positions have been cut all along, policemen, firemen, and this isn't the right time to be able to, to even broach that subject. I think the idea of presenting that we're here, we're doing these kinds of things with grantees in our community, and thank you for, through the mayor's office, for your support.
yeah, that's what I was thinking too. I agree that this isn't the right year to ask. But if they were aware of us, we get in the habit of approaching
Right.
The city council, then they would just be reminded of us. It's something that we could periodically get on to do. And then maybe if things change next year, we could ask for a match. If they don't, at least they know who we are. So.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
Mm-hmm.
When is that?
So could we also, at that city council meeting, signal that we would like, that we're going to be exploring a cultural district designation?
I think that's also a good idea. I saw somewhere.
Yeah, so the date is Tuesday, October 6th. And that's the one that if we want to get on, we should get on then, so we can let them know about the grant cycle.
One thing I guess I wanted to bring up with the cultural district was, are they still doing that? Because I thought I saw somewhere that they're not actively approving, but that you can still apply just in case. I might be wrong though.
Are you allowed to ask questions at these meetings? Can you ask the council questions? At the end of your presentation, so there are a couple things we'd love to hear from you about. One would be the cultural where that is in the scheme of things. And is that possible, or is that not what you were thinking about doing with this meeting?
I mean, we could ask the city council about cultural district designation, but that's a Mass Cultural Council thing. So I'm not sure if the city council will know about that.
But I don't think the city council members are going to know much about it.
No.
Right.
Okay. All right. So
I do definitely think that we should pursue cultural district designation, because I know that that's something that's been attempted before, time and time. I think that the Cultural Alliance tried it before.
Ellen DiGeronimo did a lot of work on that. So if we wanted to do that, I think she's somebody we should talk to, because she has the whole application and a lot of files on that. Yeah.
that sounds good.
Do you know why we weren't, I guess when she applied before, why we didn't get it? Did we just not have enough culture?
I don't know the history. I mean, I kind of vaguely know the process. I just know it didn't happen. But it was also, I don't know if it was before the BF Brown project was thought of. So I know they didn't feel so discouraged. I think they wanted to go back and do it again, but then they just lost their manpower. So I think there are still some people within the Cultural Alliance who and Jennifer Jones too. She's also a big part of that. So, I mean, maybe this is an opportunity for both I mean, there's already some crossover anyway, but maybe this is something we could bridge, because it is a lot of work. It's a huge application process. But if they've already done some legwork, like all the historic documentation isn't going to change. It's going to be what's current. That's going to need to be redone.
And I know too that that's something that the public has asked for us. That was one of the big asks at the last year's not cultural meet and greet, creative meet and greet. So I definitely think that that's something worth pursuing. So
Is
maybe
this something that is so like demanding that maybe it's better to take on during like once we're done with grant season?
Yeah, I would do it I think it,
Like
it
in the
is
winter?
a huge, yeah. But I mean, if we're gonna meet with the city council, it just doesn't hurt to put the bug in their ear and see if they have any resources they're willing to offer. Because I think the more people you can have backing it, the more support you have. And that will help the application process.
Then it might be a good thing to mention it and mention that when our grant cycle is completed, we would like to be the leaders and the spearheaders of
Reinstituting.
Yeah, well, it's an application that's already been attempted. It failed. Somebody needs to try again. So we would like to, that will be the council's next project, and we'll be back to speak about that more next time, or in 2 months when our grant cycle is over, something like that. And that would put the bug in.
Exactly.
So
What do we need from the city council for it? Like we need like recommendation letters from them?
Probably.
So Tamar, if you want, I can send you that the data from last year that says that the people have also asked for cultural district designation. So that might be useful in showing that just to the city council, just so that they know that it's not something the 9 of us came up with.
Sure. I mean,
Cool.
I guess we need to take a vote as to whether or not we'd like to go on Tuesday, October 6th. And then if we do, then maybe if Jim would be open to it, I would be happy to go on, and maybe the 2 of us could take turns. You could speak about the financial piece and.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Cool.
Okay, I so motion. I think it's a great idea.
I second.
Aye, in favor.
Aye.
Now, Leo, are you going to be part of it at all?
I don't think I can show. I don't think I can make it next Tuesday. Not next Tuesday, on the 6th.
Yeah, Tuesday, 10/6. What
Yeah.
time is it at? Is that like 7?
That's a good question. I don't actually remember. I have to look in my notes from Mr. Krishmarik.
I think that they're usually at 7. They're not during the day.
No, it's in the evening. I just don't know what time.
Right. But I don't think that I'll be able to make that Tuesday. All right, cool. Wow.
Tamar, well,
Do we
Tamar,
want to really? Oh, sorry.
yeah, Tamar, do you want me to speak to Michael? I'm on his campaign for election.
It doesn't matter. I started
Yeah.
the conversation with my neighbor too. He's like 3 doors down from me.
Yeah.
So I'm happy
Let me speak to Michael, and then I'll get back to you.
whatever you like. I'm gonna send him a message on Facebook too. Like
Okay.
that's
All right. And
Can we quickly vote on the grant writing training dates or webinars?
Yeah. What were we agreed on?
I'll pull it up.
Wasn't it? Actually, wasn't October 6th one of them?
Right. It was,
Oh,
and then the 9th.
do we want to change that since, those who are available will be at the council meeting?
We're looking at Monday, Tuesday, so maybe do October 5th and switch the other one to a Tuesday.
Well, I thought was well, yeah, we could do that. But I figured I would take care of the grant training, and that could still be on. Well, we can whichever date. We can do the 5th of September, and then not September, the 5th of October, and then the 10th of November. You guys all feel good about that for grant training? That way, we want 2 dates. One very early on, and then one the week before for all the procrastinators. And then in the middle, we won't spam, but we'll basically spam a training video that we found online. So that way they get the official training video throughout the month from the MCC. And then on the 5th of October, they'll get a live training just like this. And then on the 10th of November, they'll get another live training just like this, where they can ask personal questions.
But to just follow up on that, Leo's point, the Mass Cultural Council created this excellent YouTube video that demonstrates the process. It's just like a step-by-step how you go through it on the website. Whereas these trainings would allow grant seekers to ask us questions if they don't understand the YouTube video.
Okay, just want to clarify here. The dates that I have are Monday, 5 October, and Tuesday, 10 November. Do we have times?
We didn't pick a time. I would say, how does 5:30 sound? No, how does 6 o'clock sound?
I like 6.
I think they were later last year so that people could come after work. I think
Right.
that, yeah. I mean, granted, they don't have to go
Good
anywhere,
or later than 6.
but they don't. Yeah, I mean, it's not. They don't have to get to Fitchburg State and find a parking space, but it allows them to not be on another Zoom call.
Or rushing around.
Right.
Yeah.
6 p.m. is
Boom.
Motion to approve Monday, October 5th at 6 p.m. and Tuesday, November 10th at 6 p.m.
Second.
And anybody against? No, cool. I think that's everything.
So that
I think there was one more thing.
correct, a discussion of council priorities.
Oh, yeah. All right. Yeah, so we're gonna have to change those up soon. We have to edit our website. So there is a very useful video on that too. Audrey, do you have the link for that on you by any chance? I can quickly look it up too.
No, I don't.
Okay.
But I can change it so that you can screen share it. I think you should be able to now. I think anyone should.
Cool. We're not gonna watch this
Okay.
18 video now.
No.
But I just wanted to show you guys, and that way, this is basically so that we all have kind of an understanding of council priorities. That way, once we get the results from our input meeting back, we can sort of have kind of more of an idea of what.
Let's get started.
So this is their video basically, and I'll
Two main roles of council priorities.
send
You have
out.
3 minutes, Leo.
I just wanted to show you guys this. I can send this in the email, and then, but we should all take a look at it. And it basically, yeah, it just our priorities that way when it comes to, like it says right there, guide LLCs in grant making decisions and help applicants understand what our interests are and the application process. And so I'll send that in the chat. Oh, how do can I chat? Here we go. So I'll send that in the chat. And then I'll send it in the email again. And then, yeah, I just think it's something that we should all be aware of and watch. I'm going to stop sharing.
How about going a step further? And if anybody, between this meeting and the next meeting, if anybody reads it and goes over it and they have some different ideas, they could be ready to submit them at the next meeting.
So you're talking about the priorities?
I'm talking about the priorities. So the idea being that we'll read through the Mass Cultural Council's priorities. Those are our priorities, right? And if we want to personalize them for Fitchburg and our particular council, we might submit some ideas. What about that?
Well, so that video is just to help for us to come up with our council priorities.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So instead of making it the best way to make it a good discussion would be if we made a list, if everybody looked at this and then submitted something instead of just starting the discussion out at the meeting. It becomes very time consuming.
I like that idea, Eileen. Yeah, like we could start a email thread with the link and a link to what our current priorities say on there, and people can reply all, like, you know, suggestions that they have so that we can think about it.
Yeah.
Or when we actually vote on it and have a official meeting and can actually discuss it.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think that sounds good. And it is 5:45, so we are about to get kicked out.
Very quickly, community input meeting on Friday, 6 p.m. I'm no longer gonna send out Google Calendar invites for all the meetings because I'm not allowed to share my Zoom link. But we do have a public calendar, so I will have all the Google Calendar events all on there, in which I will share it to all of you guys. You can add it to your Google Calendars and stuff like that. But it will have the registration link for any people of the public that want to do it. Just don't get confused and try to register on there when you are a panelist.
And there is a press, if anyone needs it or would like to share it, we would appreciate it.
Yes.
Awesome. And now, does anybody want a motion to adjourn before we
I motion to adjourn.
Second.
Awesome.
All in favor, yes.
Oh,
We did it.
Leo, could you stick
Everybody.
around for 2 minutes?
Yep.